Midfielder Henrikh Mkhitaryan is out of training ahead of the Nerazzurri's Serie clash with Lazio on Friday. This according to Italian broadcaster Sky Sport Italia, who report that the 33-year-old has not been a part of the team's training session ahead of their trip to the Italian capital to face the Biancocelesti, and that he is expected to miss the match through injury. Mkhitaryan picked up a thigh strain which caused the Armenian to miss Inter's home Serie A debut against Spezia over the weekend. And it is now all but certain that he will also miss their third match of the season, the away clash with Lazio. The squad are going full speed ahead in training ahead of their match against the Biancocelesti, but as it stands Mkhitaryan is not being rushed back from his thigh strain, with the 33-year-old currently working alone to get back to fitness before returning to full training. Inter have no intention of signing defender Francesco Acerbi on loan from Lazio if the fee involved in the deal is over €500,000. This according to Italian news outlet FC Internews, who report that the Nerazzurri made their financial conditions clear in a meeting with the 34-year-old's agent Federico Pastorello clear. The Nerazzurri are getting closer and closer to being able to wrap up a deal for Acerbi should they decide to, and today's meeting with Pastorello only further confirmed the intentions of all parties. The defender wants to make the switch to Inter, and the Nerazzurri would consider signing him, although they would not want the fee to be too high for a paid loan deal, whilst the deal would contain a purchase option. The 34-year-old must still deal with the fact that Lazio do not want to pay his wages for the months of July and August if they are to send him out on loan. Part of this could be covered by a loan fee from Inter, but given that the Nerazzurri's maximum offer of €500,000 for such a fee would not cover the full amount, Acerbi could still have to forego some of his wages in order to make the move to Inter. Chelsea are asking for a loan fee of around €2 million to send defender Trevoh Chalobah to Inter for the season. This according to Italian journalist Fabrizio Biasin, who reported in a tweet that the Blues are holding out for the fee on a paid loan in order to allow the 23-year-old to join Inter, and that it could be more than the Nerazzurri are able to spend. Chalobah has emerged as a serious target for Inter over the past few days as they look to sign one more defender to complete the options in the backline before the summer transfer window slams shut. Reports have suggested that the Englishman is Inter's priority ahead of Lazio'd Francesco Acerbi, although there would still be some work to do for them to convince Chelsea on a deal. It would certainly be a loan, but the exact details could be key given that the signing must be very low cost to be feasible for the Nerazzurri, and according to Biasin, at the moment Chelsea are still holding out for a fee of around €2 million. Biasin tweeted, "Chelsea ask for a €2 million loan fee for Trevoh Chalobah. Basically, Inter have already had an agreement with UEFA for some time regarding financial fair play sanctions, and the news that came out earlier today regarding FFP was not new. This according to Italian news outlet FC Inter 1908, who report that the Nerazzurri are not worried about FFP and that there have been no new developments, with a recent report from the UK press having just restated existing facts about the situation. Earlier today, a report from UK news outlet The Times suggested that Serie A clubs Inter, Juventus, and Roma as well as a number of other top clubs around Europe are the subject of sanctions from UEFA for FFP violations, and that the Nerazzurri have an agreement with European football's top governing body about the sanctions. This is true, but this agreement has existed for months, and so the report from The Times is not really any news regarding developments that are of any worry to any of the clubs involved. A number of teams in Ligue 1 are interested in loaning in Inter midfielder Lucien Agoume for the current season. This according to today's print edition of Milan-based newspaper Gazzetta dello Sport, who report that the 20-year-old will go out on loan as expected for the season, and that the French top flight remains the likeliest destinations. Teams in France continue to be interested in Agoume off the back of his good form last season, which he spent on loan with Brest. The Frenchman has rejected a move to newly promoted Cremonese on loan and seems to appear another loan at a team in his homeland, where he could feel that he is better able to develop within the senior game with more playing time. There is interest in Agoume's signature, although it remains to be seen which club gets a deal done, but he will not stay at Inter as the arrival of Christian Aslani has completed the midfield depth in his position. Over 60,000 tickets have already been sold for Inter's Serie A clash with Cremonese at the San Siro on Tuesday, August 30th. This according to Italian news outlet FC Internews, who report that the San Siro is already getting close to capacity a week from the Nerazzurri's second home Serie A fixture of the campaign. Inter held their first home match of the Serie A season in front of a packed house, with a total of 71,212 tickets having been sold to sell out the stadium as the Nerazzurri kicked off their home campaign with great excitement and anticipation. For the Nerazzurri's second home fixture of the season, against newly promoted Cremonese next week, the anticipation does not look to have dropped off much, as a significant proportion of the seats at the stadium will already be filled. Over 60,000 tickets have already been sold. Paris Saint-Germain have denied that they only went as high as €50 million in their offer to Inter for defender Milan Skriniar, and have stressed that their highest bid was worth closer to €60 million. This according to today's print edition of Milan-based newspaper Gazzetta dello Sport, who report that denials have filtered out of the French capital that PSG were only willing to offer around €50 million for the 27-year-old. PSG looks certain to have missed out on the signing of Skriniar despite the Slovakian having been their priority target in defense for much of the transfer window. One way or another, the French champion's highest bid was not enough to satisfy the Nerazzurri's asking price for the Slovakian, and they have now taken him off of the market. However, some reports have suggested that the Parisians only offered around €50 million for Skriniar, while the club themselves have been keen to make clear that when all of the add-ons were factored in, which were all fairly straightforward to trigger, the value of the offer was actually €60 million. Lazio forward Pedro is set to start in the Biancocelesti's Serie clash with Inter on Friday. This according to Italian broadcaster Sky Sport Italia, who report that the Spaniard should be available from the start and could be Lazio coach Maurizio Sarri's change in attack for the match. Lazio started both of their first two matches in Serie this season, a 2-1 win over Bologna and a goalless draw with Torino, with a front three of Mattia Zaccagni, Siro Immobile, and Felipe Anderson. Pedro was not available for the Biancocelesti's opener against Bologna through injury. But in their second match of the season away to Torino over the weekend he was fit enough to make a substitute appearance. According to Sky, Sarri is likely to include the 35-year-old in attack for their match against Inter at the Stadio Olimpico, whilst midfielder Luis Alberto is set to start on the bench for the third match in a row.